In today's episode of Saga of Freedom, we'll talk about roundtable conferences and appointment of Simon Commission. We'll pay tribute to the founder of Hindu Mahasabha, Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya.
November 1930, First Roundtable Conference started in London. In 1919, the freedom movement was in full swing with its non-cooperation movement spearheaded by Gandhiji. Also, the Government of India Act 1919 could not satisfy the demands of Indians for increased participation of Indians in all branches of governance.
There were increasing demands of granting dominion status to India among a certain section of the British polity too. Thus, to inquire into the working of the Government of India Act 1919, Simon Commission was appointed.
In response to the inadequacy of the Simon Report, the then British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald in 1929 decided to hold a series of roundtable conferences in London. There were 3 such conferences.
The first roundtable conference convened from the 12th of November 1930 to the 19th of January 1931. Prior to the conference, Mahatma Gandhi had initiated the civil disobedience movement. Consequently, Congress did not participate in the first conference, but representatives from other Indian parties and a number of princes did. The outcomes of the first roundtable conference were minimal. The British government realized that the Indian National Congress needed to be part of deciding the future of constitutional government in India. The British Indian government released the political leaders of Congress to make a favourable environment for the talks between Gandhi and Lord Irwin.
After the end of the first roundtable conference, Tej Bahadur Sapru, C.Y. Chintamani and Srinivas Shastri appealed and tried to persuade Mahatma Gandhi to talk with Viceroy Lord Irwin. Following the talks in March 1931, the Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed, and Gandhiji agreed to suspend the civil disobedience movement and also consented to participate in the second roundtable conference.
12th November is also the death anniversary of Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya, the famed Indian educationist and freedom fighter who is also called Mahamana.
Malaviya was born on 25th of December 1861 in Allahabad and studied in Calcutta University. He then became a school teacher and later a lawyer and a newspaper editor. He is also the founder of the Hindu Mahasabha.
Malaviya was an important figure in the non-cooperation movement.
In 1928, he joined Lala Lajpat Rai, Jawaharlal Nehru, and many others in protesting against the Simon Commission, which had been set up by the British to consider India's future. Just as the Buy British campaign was sweeping England, he issued on 30th of May 1932 a manifesto urging concentration on the Buy Indian movement in India. Malaviya was a delegate at the second roundtable conference in 1931.
During the civil disobedience movement, he was arrested on the 25th of April 1932, along with 450 other Congress volunteers in Delhi. Malaviya was the only leader of the Indian National Congress who was appointed as its president for 4 terms.
Malaviya always tried for Hindu-Muslim unity. He gave 2 famous speeches on communal harmony, one in Lahore in 1922 and in Kanpur in 1931. In his presidential address at the INC's Calcutta session in 1933, he said,
I implore all Hindus and Mussalmans, Sikhs, Christians and Parsis and all other countrymen to sink all communal differences and to establish political unity among all sections of the people.
To redeem his resolve to serve the cause of education and social service, he renounced his well-established practice of law in 1911 forever in order to follow the tradition of sannyasa throughout his life. He pursued the avowed commitment to live on society's support.
But when 177 freedom fighters were convicted to be hanged in the Chauri Chaura case, he appeared before the court despite his vow and got acquitted 156 freedom fighters. Malaviya, who was keenly interested in uplifting the educational standards of the country, was the principal founder in 1916 of the Banaras Hindu University in Varanasi, a premier institution of learning.
Malaviya's consciousness toward the public led to the launch of his own Hindi language weekly, the Abhyudaya, the leader of Allahabad, an English language daily, and the Hindi monthly, the Maryada.
He was conferred with the Bharat Ratna along with former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
Let's go cross live to Hyderabad now, where an